We all know as a practice owner, one of the last things you want to think about is tax planning and strategizing for your practice. In addition, the long list of tasks on your radar, it's really hard to do everything. You have to find a trustworthy team of experts that understands the unique and specific needs within veterinary medicine. My suggestion would be my friends at Granite Peak Associates. Granite Peak is an advanced tax planning and veterinary practice advisory firm who has spent many years working within vet med. Their team works year-round to make sure you're able to maximize your profitability while also minimizing your liabilities. Whether you're in the process of purchasing a practice, looking to grow your practice, or transitioning towards the sale of your practice, they are the experts to help guide you through. What makes them different than other firms is their devotion to proactive tax planning. By thinking into the future and creating long-lasting relationships with their clients, Granite Peak can help minimize the amount of taxes paid over the course of many years to come. Head over to their website, granitepeakcpa.com, to receive a personalized comparison of your practice financials against over 140 other hospitals that they've worked with. You'll be able to see how your practice ranks, where you stack up, and where the opportunities are to get better. From there, you can schedule a one-on-one call with one of the members of their team to review and analyze your results. The opportunity speaks for itself. You need someone on your side. Granite Peak Associates is that team. Take advantage of their innovative expertise within the veterinary industry. Discover the nation's fastest growing practice management software. Who, you might ask? It's my friends at Shepherd Veterinary Software. Founded by a practicing veterinarian, Shepherd is easy to learn and works the way you work. Shepherd automatically updates the medical records, adds services to the invoice, generates discard instructions, and so much more. It's time to bring home more stories and less stress. Learn more today at www.shepherd.vet. Recruiting team members in your veterinary practice has never been this hard. You can either bury your head in the sand and hope it goes away or adapt. Enter Guardian Vets. By leveraging best-in-class technology, you can empower your staff and reduce their workload. Help reduce burnout. You also provide a better experience for your clients and patients, which you want to do as you serve them. The solutions Guardian Vets offers includes after-hours triage, virtual CSRs, that know your team and processes, telemedicine, and so much more. Become the employer of choice in your area by offering the best tools to position your team for success. Whether you're starting a de novo, clinic, multi-doctor, or multi-location, Guardian Vets can help you be more efficient and effective. Go to their website, guardianvets.com, click the Get Started button, then let them know that I sent you, right? Let them know the Vet Success Podcast sent you. Get 50% off your first month. Don't let another quarter or year happen before you start making changes, because you know you need to. So talk to the Guardian Vets team today and implement a new solution. All right. So I am back with a previous guest, Rhys, and I always struggle, but I'm going to go for it. Giannarelli?
That's exactly right.
All right.
Yep, no problem.
I'm getting better. And I practiced before. I really did. I was like, I practice. I want to make sure it's good. And then I get in and my brain just freezes. He's the owner of Point Grey Veterinary Hospital in British Columbia. Rhys joined me on show 103 back in 2021. And we had a lot of different conversations around, private practice, culture, teams, competing with corporate. Really fun conversation. I would highly, highly recommend going back. It blew me away to think of it actually being 2021. I thought it was much more recent. But with that, it's been a fun conversation to come back around. And recently, Rhys reached out and said, hey, I have something I want to chat on. Any chance I get back on the podcast is like, absolutely. And so I know a little bit about our topic, but really what we're going to do is explore that today. And Rhys, always good to connect and good to see you.
Isaiah, it's always a pleasure to speak with you off or on air. It's always a great thing. I'm honored to be back on the show. So thank you very much for having me back on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we'll kind of build for those that checked out the previous episode. What's life like in British Columbia today? What's things look like at Point Grey? How's the team? Any updates as detailed or as high level as you want to provide? Let's jump in there and then we'll kind of build from there.
Fantastic. I noticed what you didn't say, though, is our second clinic is Fraser View Veterinary Hospital, and that opened in 2021. It might have been pretty new when we were speaking last, but that is our second clinic that opened up during COVID. And we actually signed 2 weeks prior to COVID actually happening. And that was a scary thing. We didn't know where we were going to go, but we had already committed and we said, that's right. And that opened up in 2021. So we're 3 years now. So that's going well. Where are we with both of them, both clinics? as everyone would be in the same boat. COVID threw everything that we knew upside down, and we had to reinvent and innovate on how we practice medicine. We went from, well, not we, but most people went from paper records to cloud, and that was a change, to VoIP systems. That was also a big change for many. Texting, that was a big change, but the most I think everyone went to was telemedicine, virtual medicine, because we couldn't get everybody in at exactly the same time. So that was a challenge to navigate, and to have that, as well as the still being compliant with the regulations of the board and the provinces, still trying to navigate what it looks like themselves. So it's, backlog there. Everyone had issues with finding vets. As you know, it's not a big secret that how difficult it was to find vets. For some still today, technicians as well, we face the same challenges. I remember speaking to you that there was a time where I didn't need vets. I had vets applying and I had technicians applying. That quickly dwindled, Isaiah. That quickly dwindled because everyone was snapping up everyone for a good dollar amount and whatever they could throw. But that dwindled. But we survived. We got through all the turmoil as many other clinics would have. But we came out, I guess, on top. I would say on top. We were still around. That's the main thing. Where we are today, I was telling you before we press record that I have probably one of my biggest turnovers in a single year right now. 4 are on mat leave, 2 of them being doctors, 1 technician, 1 CSR, 2 assistants going to tech school, and I just got told this morning that one of my other CSRs also got into vet school. So that's 7 people that 6 people I had to replace because I knew about that one, and it's now number 7. So I'm grateful that they're all going into bigger and better things in terms of career development and also starting a family. If they had have left me for a competitor, then I would be looking internal going, what happened? How could we have prevented that? As I said, this is the first time in a long time that I've had a big turnover, not being for something grass green on the other side.
Yeah. It's like this is what should happen and just doesn't all have to happen quite at once. Like, it could have spaced it out a little bit, guys. But it's definitely, that's encouraging, and it's great from a team perspective and long term. Definitely brings other challenges. I know one of the big topics that we had in 2021 was talking about like private practice versus corporate, and just feeling like, hey, we can really compete there. Still feel the same way? Still, has that changed? Any other kind of bigger positive, negative adjustments, just, views on veterinary medicine or things that you've learned as a leader since we last chat?
I think my views are still the same. Everyone can compete. Corporate have slowed down a lot of buying up the power, but they've also started to get smarter in terms of realizing what's really important. And culture is a big ticket item right now. There are many private practices out there. Mike Shirley, for one, I'm sure you're very familiar with. FenVets, Cody there. They're also all renowned for having great culture and having this workplace environment and different things that some corporates may not be able to compete with, but some can. And that is a difference. I spoke about private practice ownership, where everyone can carve out a niche to find out what they can absolutely do and love and be the best at. It's no different from coffee shops, no different from restaurants. Everyone still serves the same food. It's what we can do differently that counts. And whether that's the best customer service or best communication, whether it is dialing down on the personality, you are going to find that niche if you search for it. We all hear the saying, you can't be all things to all people. And that is the absolute truth. If you want to be a high volume clinic, that's also okay. If you want to be a low volume but high touch, that's also okay. There's going to be somewhere or something in between all of those. Finding a niche, find what we're good at, enjoy it, and love it, because that's what's going to make the difference.
No, I think the idea that you still kind of hold a lot of the same thoughts is not necessarily super surprising, but I mean, there's been a lot of changes. Like 2021, it was, you could do almost no wrong. Like there was lots of business, huge pin-up demand, people adopting pets, all that stuff. And it seems like that slowed, at least here stateside.
Yeah.
Like people continue to talk about that, and I would assume it's similar. And so it's just like, has that changed the way you view things, the way that you, have those conversations? And it sounds like no, it just accentuates or kind of highlights a lot of the stuff you already talked about. Like, hey, if you're doing things the right way and you have your kind of core values or missions or things that you provide, and people are still going to say, yeah, that's what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for a veterinarian and trying to find that service. So no, it's great.
Everyone's looking for something, and if you have it or you don't. And again, that is also okay. You're going to filter out those people anyway. The core values and mission statements and culture is still a big ticket item for many, if not just veterinary industry, but all industries across the board.
Absolutely.
Business remains the same. Profitability still needs to be there. Systems still need to be there. Culture still needs to be there. Everything else remains the same. What's changed, as you just touched on, is the puppy boom, cat boom has dropped. Everyone is handing back their pets, unfortunately, back to the shelters, and we're overloaded, just like I'm sure everybody else is, in terms of no capacity in the shelters. That's hurt the industry. We're also finding the elasticity has reached its points of vet care, and that is a different thing that we need to navigate ourselves, especially as being such a high cost living area. Vancouver, much more like San Francisco or California, where everything is just so expensive to buy and purchase houses, food, to live is expensive. And we've now needed to find out how best to adjust. We're working on some things, some great ideas have come through the pipeline with the team, but what works is still remaining the challenge. Trying to keep spectrum of care, trying to keep wages at a livable wage, and still have people interested enough to continue. That's that challenge right now.
Yeah. So I know you're kind of working on a newer project, and I think it's been in your mind for a while, but as far as like, putting pen to paper, or I guess kind of getting it out there, is newer. Yeah. So again, I know a little bit, probably about as much as the audience. So I wanted to kind of give you the ability to chat a little bit about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and we'll kind of build on it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny story how this all happened is a friend of mine who trying to go through a restructure said, you know what, I've read many systems, I've read a lot of books, you've seemed to have done this already. Is there something that you can put together for my team? I didn't even think about it, to be honest. That wasn't even on my radar to do. But what I did do was look at what she wanted and what I could deliver, and I found out that was something that I already do. I already do it within my own clinics. I loved doing it and still love doing it. And I said to myself, I would love to change IVMS, what it was previously, to this and only this. Whereas previously, I wanted to build other veterinarians' dreams. I wanted them to open up their own for ownership themselves, practice medicine they wanted to practice, but originally it was they didn't want to manage their own clinic, and that's where I sort of came in. But after some time, I realized that wasn't even my passion. My passion actually is delivering this workshop that I'm about to tell you about that helps structure and optimize. I use these words, and as much as I want to cringe, because every other business consultant says optimize and restructure, but that really is what it is. I'm coming from practice myself. I understand what it's like to be in the trenches. I understand what it's like to find, hey, we don't have enough money to replace that X-ray because that just blew up. I understand the budgeting flaws that we had to have that's now been fixed, but the culture code that we sort of live by, all these different intricacies of every system that I've ever read about, there's many of them out there. I took the best of everything, dismantled them, rebuilt them for VetNet specifically, and that our workshop was born.
Got it. So yeah, tell me I guess the structure of the workshop. Who is right for that? I assume I own a clinic. Probably not for those that want to do a startup. Is it practice managers? Like who's the kind of the ideal person that would go through this and say, "Yep, that's perfect for me. That's what I want."
Yeah, great question. And I was hoping that you would ask that question. It's for independent practice owners, not really made for corporate. Honestly, they don't have the independent practice managers independent practice owners do not have the resources as much as corporates do, or the deep pockets as corporates do. And corporates have their own team anyway to do that kind of stuff. For me, my goal is to help independent owners, practice owners, I should say, to find more freedom to do the things they love, whether it be medicine, whether it be working on their business, or whether or not taking up golf, swimming, or something, but to step more away from the things that they hate, using the delegating systems that we can put in place, driving team engagement that goes towards the vision and goals of the company. These are the systems that I want to input so you can have more time to do whatever you like. For me, I gave me more time to do this. So this system works because I'm here talking, preaching about this now, which maybe 3 years ago I didn't have time to do.
Is there anything from the various different systems, and maybe you can kind of talk about the various different systems that you looked at, you kind of dismantled, rebuilt, and said, hey, this is, VetMed, because you can read a lot of different books. And sometimes I can remember going back to grad school, and it's like in the MBA course, it's like, oh yeah, this is great if it's a Fortune 500 company, but like the company that's got 20 or 30 employees, this doesn't work. Like you would need crazy amounts of resources to like implement that. So you want to talk any about kind of what you read, or what were the systems, or how you kind of adapted those maybe more to VetMed?
Sure. Let's look at the most popular systems out there, from Lean to Six Sigma to EOS to these other. I'm missing one off the top of my head. I'm sorry, but these systems are out there. They all say the same thing. They just put a different language on it. But if we understood the concepts and how it can relate to your industry, and these are systems that are for anybody in every generic industry, and it's applied as a blanket. But if we took it, which I did, dismantled all of them and said, that doesn't work for me, but this did, or I can tweak that and make it vet specific, and use the different metrics that they used to have, or the different percentages they used to have, and understand, okay, that doesn't work, but this one does. And why does it work, and how we can then move forward the next 5 years and still make it applicable today. So it took some time and a lot of effort and reading, resources and research to make sure that it still applies today. But these are the sort of systems that I had 3 years ago that still work. And to have my team so thoroughly engaged that I don't have to rack my brain on how to fix something anymore. They do it for me. That's the team engagement and buy-in that drives the goals that we've set for the next 5 years.
So you view it as it needs to be one of those things that someone's willing to give it that length of time. So like that, 5-year time frame into the future. Is it something that you might say, Rhys, I'm not that patient for 5 years. Like I need to see.
Actually, something that you would take about 6 months to install. I would do this over a course of 4 days. So it's a lot of information over 4 days, not 4 straight days. That's just fire hose. It's going to go to waste.
Sure.
But we'll do 1 day, 3 to 4 weeks in between. So 1 day, wait 3 or 4 weeks, another day, wait 3 or 4 weeks, and then I'll do 2 consecutive days. And the reason for that is because days 1 and 2 are very heavy, both emotionally. I'm not going to lie when I say that. Emotionally.
Just mentally taxing, right? Yeah.
Mentally taxing. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much. Mentally taxing and emotionally. That is going to You need time as well to implement what you've just learned into the practice. Understand it, really buy into it yourself. Come back, refresh, come back for the next one, do the same thing. But days 3 and 4 are all things that are additives to what you've just learned, and they are not heavily as taxing. So we can power through them for the next 2 days after that.
So you would have someone start to implement those changes early on, or would you want them to wait through the end of the workshops? Because I think that's an interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Each day is all the information that you need to implement that for the next 3 to 4 weeks. That's what you're going to implement. That specific workshop for that day, you're going to implement. You're going to go away and make sure that this is implemented. You've the core values that you've just developed, the vision that you've just developed, and some areas of the right fits, team fits. We say that make sure that everyone's on the right seats, on the right bus, singing the same song. So we want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Day 2, we start to find out who's who in the zoo or the circus, depending on which way you want to go. But we're going to fix that. We're going to make sure that we have a clear structure. We're going to make sure that that aligns with the growth of the next 5 years, because the next 5 years we've just mapped and strategically placed what it looks like, where you're going to go, and who's going to go with you. Then that's what you're going to start to do in your practice the following 4 weeks after the second day. Then 3 and 4 days, we start to talk about how to implement the processes, how to budget effectively, some marketing as well. I don't do too much of marketing. I'm not a marketing expert, but we touch on how you're going to use the Google information and the Google Analytics to your marketing, and then you're going to take that to your marketing expert to then go live on.
Makes sense. And then from the standpoint of, a team, you can talk about like the right players and the right bus. One of the biggest issues, and you highlighted it earlier, is trying to get the right team members, and hiring is tricky. And so that can be something that can take a while. Like, how do you talk through an owner that knows they need to make a hire, but feel like they can't find the person? Like, at what point do you have to say they got to be out there and you got to make do versus like waiting? Like, how do you think through that?
I first go back to the old saying, hire slow, fire fast. Okay. And we tie back to, if you have core values right now, I'll rephrase. If you have core values right now, I would ask you, when was the last time you checked them? When was the last time you made them? Do they still resonate today? When were they made? Were they made with your team in mind? Are they still there? We got 4 core values at IVMS, or for me anyways, but I'm relatable. As a practice owner, I'm very familiar with the intricacies and nuances of ownership and its challenges. This is a proven system that I use in my 2 practices today. Engaging. This system is very engaging. The services are designed to involve and motivate your entire team, improving retention and buy-in. Client success oriented. So we're dedicated to driving the success of our clients, ensuring that they achieve their goals with a year-long dedicated support system. And lastly, and this is something that I live not just for IVMS, but personally, but honestly, I will tell you how the process is going to be. I will tell you the difficulties and the challenges and the issues you will face. And I'll be honest with that every conversation. I believe in that I believe in being straightforward and is kind, and I'll be there to support you. And the mission is to provide a service that elevates private veterinary practices to success, freeing time for veterinarians to focus on what matters most. I spoke to a client not too long ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now, who does have core values. She says, yeah, I have them. So when was they made? They were made 20 years ago. Do they still resonate today? And she looked and said, no. So what are they? Because I don't even know myself. I said, well, then you're not living core values. So I use that as an example because I use in my interviews, I use my core values as hiring techniques. I filter my applicants using these core values. And I ask them, this is who we are, this is why we are like this. Are you that person? There are ways to filter these people out before they even come here. So through this system of our core values, our niche, our uniques, we implement this in our actual job ad. We say something specific that they need to do in order to get the job ad through. That's like a part one. So you have multiple layers, because once they get to layer 4, then you know that you're your people, and then you choose the best out of those candidates. They're cool. But I tie everything back to our core values. Every decision that we make, every direction that we take, it's all back to core values.
And it has to be, because if not, then you're not making a decision based on anything other than the way maybe you feel at that time, right? And maybe you're having a great day, top of the world, or hey, it's been a rough week and I'm in a bad spot, and now I'm just going to be, pissed off and make a decision that's going to end up being, damaging longer term. So
absolutely. And we use the same core values about accountability as well. Like my team hold me accountable for all my roles, responsibilities, and we hold them accountable for the same thing. So if I make a decision, my team will say, does that go against our core value? If I'm unsure, I'll go, which one? And they'll tell me. I'm like, oh yeah, I can see that. Do you have a solution? But it's holding me accountable for my role as well, not just as a boss, but hospital administrator. If I cannot hold myself accountable, if they can't hold me accountable, I can't do the same for them. So that becomes that culture that you have to be willing to be called out on. It's just very important for the team.
How many owners today do you think would be comfortable with that setup? I feel like a lot of people wouldn't, right? Like it is a double standard, because they're going to be like, well, I'm the owner, I'm the boss, blah, blah, blah. Yep. But yeah, you have to be able to be vulnerable, but also have a standard that is set that everyone is going to, buy into that. And so you talked about it a little bit earlier. I just can think of I just don't know how many people would want that, right?
Yeah, you're right. So I had a client that, remember I said day one is very emotional.
Sure.
And taxing. So this is a conversation that we have. We have tough, honest conversations about the culture and the type of personalities that we are. When we talk about that, I asked some specific questions, and I said, this is what it looks like. So there's no way I'm going to have someone tell me what to do. It's not about telling you what to do, but it's holding you accountable. So if you want the core values and you want everyone to run with that core values, you have to be accountable for them too. So if you're not willing to do that, it's not going to work. But again, it took some time for them to understand what needed to change. And sometimes they are the problem. And that's where the tough love come in and tough conversations came in. I owe a lot to Brene Brown and her Dare to Lead and being vulnerable and the book Crucial Conversations. We use these tactics and techniques to not it be a personal attack, because conflict is perception of opinion, really. So we wanted to ensure that it's not a personal thing, but more of an understanding thing that the team needs to understand, needs to be valued. Much the same as that they have their boss, they need the team to work for them, for a paycheck, as they say. But it's much more than that these days. Our team want different things, not just a paycheck. It's involvement. It's appreciative. They want to be a part of something great. And that's something that we need to reframe our conversation around.
I know one of the things you talked about is efficiency, and you kind of joked and laughed a little bit because everyone, that's a consultant, right? Like, what does that word mean? And then efficiency comes in. When you think about efficiency for the way that you are viewing it through this, how would you, I guess, unpack that a little bit more to try to, drive home efficiency versus hearing the word, like, I know that's good, but like, what does that mean, Isaiah?
And again, great that you asked that question, because when I talk about efficiency, it's not about workflow. I talk about efficiency on a higher level. So if you're a business owner, if you're a manager and you have leads and direct reports, you want as much time free as possible to work on the bigger things in the company. So if you're an owner and you're a visionary, you want to work on these great and big ideas that's going to generate you income. You don't want to be bogged down with the small stuff that somebody else can do. So we use a delegation method that we look at things that we don't like to do, or we hate doing, or we do but we regret doing, or we do well but still hate doing. We go through a process where we put all those things down on paper and we go, we're going to delegate this, we're going to delegate that. Hopefully, out of the 100% that you've put down on paper, we delegate 85% of that, leaving you 15% to do the things that you absolutely must do. But everything else you can delegate, and you get a lot of free time to work on the business or play golf or do what I do and start something else because I'm bored. It is a proven process, but we do that not just because it gives you free time. We do that to empower your team. We do that to give them professional growth. You give them the resources to thrive in that position, and hopefully, you've trained them enough. As much as you're going to hate this, you train them enough and develop them enough to leave, but you've given them enough love and support to stay. So when we talk about development, talk about personal and career development, there will be a ceiling that a member can reach. I understand that in a private practice. I do understand that. But if we can use a delegation method to give them more responsibilities, they can still continue to grow and you can compensate them accordingly. They don't need to leave if they find that you're supporting them professionally and personally. But there will be a ceiling. That's just a fact of life, unless you become more clinics or more than just one clinic.
Where, from a delegation perspective, so I'm the owner-operator veterinarian, where do they struggle most? Is there consistent themes on delegation that you see? Is it pretty unique depending on the situation? Thoughts on that?
They all want control, and fear of losing control scares them.
Sure.
Fear of change scares them. But most of all, perfectionism is their curse. They need to be perfect, and we're just not. Nobody is perfect. I make mistakes every day. Every day. I made one this morning. In fact, I'm at Point Grey today. I should have been at Fraserview. I was so immersed in thought that I just was an autopilot and came here. That's an idea. But we talk about owners fearing perfectionism or fearing the change. When we give somebody else something to do and it's not done correctly, I read somewhere, I don't know where I read it, and forgive me if someone points it out, but 80% good enough is 100% done, because you have just saved some time getting something done that you can now work with something else. Every day when I delegate something or when I've seen something be done, I'm like, yeah, it wasn't great, it wasn't fantastic, probably not as good as I would have done it, but it's something that I didn't like to do anyway. And I'd rather it be done and good enough than done by me and spent 3 hours doing that. And now I've done 3 hours, and hopefully that 3 hours is spent producing 4 times my wage that I would have spent on that. Does that all make sense? So if I spent 3 hours on something and I've spent, let's just pretend it's $1,500 of my wage doing that, hopefully I would have used that 3 hours to increase my wage by 4 times during that 3 hours.
Yeah, you get leverage on that, and it goes back to just the skill set and the talents of the folks on the team. Like, what can they do that does drive revenue? And there's going to be certain things that are non-revenue producing that are still super important. And yeah, maybe you can divvy those things up. But yeah, if you're the owner, operator, veterinarian, depending on the team structure and other things, your best use of time probably isn't doing some of these other like menial tasks. It's probably right. Doing vet med, which is the thing that brings in the revenue, or
that's right.
finding other people. Yeah.
I just delegated my HR. I delegated my marketing. The other thing I look after now is finance and vision board. That's what I look after. So you can imagine how much free time I have now. Just by HR alone, it takes up 80% of my time.
Mm-hmm.
I delegate out. But just because you give it away doesn't mean there's nothing else. You still have to give training. You still need to provide resources. You still need to ensure that the culture, because HR is culture is still part of my role. You need to make sure everyone's still got the core values in mind. You need to make sure that we're still doing exactly the same thing that we did 6 months ago. But things do change. Processes change. Protocols change. We all need to make sure that we keep up to date with that.
100%. What haven't I asked you about when it comes to the workshop or some of the work that you're doing, or maybe it's a story or a thought that you want to share around this?
My most recent client, there's 3 owners, so that was difficult to make sure that everyone was on the same page, wanted the same thing. For the most part, I mean, they wanted the same thing. It's just a matter of getting there together, singing the same song. They were stretched because they're in a remote area, getting veterinarians, trying to figure out what to do, and they were moving to 3 practices. Sorry, they're building a 3rd practice. It was in the process, and they're almost finished and trying to figure out how they're going to staff it because no vets, no technicians. But through building the team chart, team fits, finding the responsibilities, we were able to delegate a lot of their work that fits and streamlined everyone's well, not process, but streamlined who can go where, best suited to their skill sets. And I actually had a meeting with them yesterday, to be honest, and they just told me that our team engagement hasn't been as high as when we first opened our first clinic, because it was small, but now they have 3 and they thriving. And I'm super excited about that. I mean, I meet up with my clients all year round. It's an ongoing support system that I offer. So it is constantly making sure that you're succeeding, constantly making sure that you have the resources. If you're stuck, I'm there. Tell me your success story. You know what? If they end up going to Mexico together on a 3-week holiday, I wanted to give me a call and say, hey, I'm sitting pina coladas by the pool because of this system. That's what, you know what? I'll fly there just to meet them. That's what I would do. That's my success story, if I can do that.
It's awesome. I think I had started doing this when we recorded last. I should have checked the episode at the end, but I always let guests ask me a question. So whether it's vet med related, life related, all kinds of different things, any question, any thoughts you want to fire back my way? I've been kind of peppering you with questions.
Yeah. So you did what I did. You changed to something that you love. Tell me about moving from Vencia Financial to Swan.
Yeah. So it's definitely been a journey, and it's interesting because it's basically right at a year since kind of all this happened. And I did an episode, and I had to be a little careful because, again, there's certain things you got to kind of, not share publicly, and you keep that stuff within the family. Right. But there was issues, and there were challenges with my business partner. And I think that was, made clear. And I've been pretty clear and open about that. I love the work that I did, right? Working with vet med. It was one of those things that honestly, it took a long time for me to be comfortable making the decision, even though I knew it was the right one, I think, in my head for a while, because I have great relationships. And the cool part about that, I say I have good relationships because still to this day, there's people that I worked with that I do not work with anymore. But on a personal level, we'll still get an email or a text or a update on something cool that they're doing in their life or in their business. And I'm like, that's awesome. Right. Because, it actually was meaningful when we worked together that they felt like, hey, Iz actually cares. I'm going to keep him updated on this stuff because, we chatted. But yeah, for me, it was the right decision, both from a personal perspective, family perspective, business perspective, a financial perspective. Like there was a lot of different things in a row that were kind of like right in my face, like you need to make this change. And so, yeah, I think the traditional kind of financial planning, it's super valuable. It's an area that I learned a lot. and can take for the rest of my life. I'm not saying I would never do it again, but anyone that's listened to me talk at any point in time knows that Bitcoin's been the thing and the story that I've talked about since 2020. And I'm going to continue to talk about it because I think VetMed needs to pay attention to it. And some have, and it's been fun to have those conversations and hear, things or get an email or get a text. And yeah, sure, if I'm the annoying person that talks about Bitcoin, great. Hopefully I'm annoying enough that they listen to me sooner rather than later. And so now I get to have conversations with folks, and it is an international company. So I'll talk to people all over the world, and I'll talk to people that are not young 35-year-olds with no money, right? These are people that make serious allocations with big dollar amounts as well. And it's also cool talking about a culture and a team because Swan is distributed and remote. There's no, office location, but the culture is extremely strong. It's like, how do you do that, right? Mission, values, alignment on why we're all there. And so it's like really cool to see that because it's been talked about at length in VetMed as like, hey, it's a challenge, it's this and that. Those are challenges for all businesses, right? It's not just a VetMed thing to have disengaged workers or people that are just like, I'm over it. Like that is, to me, that's the pandemic, right? Like that's the thing. People just are like indifferent about everything. And so getting people aligned on a bigger mission that's bigger than what they just do day in and day out, that's pretty special. And, there's going to be certain roles where people are like, I'm not, changing the world. And I get that, but you can still do a lot of really, really good stuff and know that you're doing it in the right way. And I think, from a Swan perspective, that's been one thing that's been really cool to see. And yeah, you just see the amount of talent that comes into the space and it's like, yeah, this is a good place to be. So super blessed, very fortunate. I think, God was definitely shining down and giving me some insight on making decisions in my personal life in the right time. So it just all kind of aligned with me telling my business partner in June, hey, I'm stepping away. This isn't going to work. It's you or me type of thing. And, a Swan role that really was kind of ideally suited for me that came available later that summer. So yeah, man, it's been a blessing and been a ton of fun. So I've enjoyed it.
Awesome. No, that's really cool. I love hearing stories of people, gravitating to something that they love and more passionate about. I did the same thing. So it just happened, which I guess you could say someone was looking down on you and you had to say, this is what you should be doing.
For sure. And for me, like the podcast is still something I'm doing, still ongoing. And like I have plans and aspirations to still have a veterinarian like offering, have a, what's that call to action for VetMed for Isaiah, right? It is, as an individual and as a business, like, hey, pay attention to Bitcoin. Like that's number one. But no, I'm working on something with a business partner that will definitely be, a side project, but I think will be really, really beneficial for veterinary medicine that hopefully we'll talk about later on this summer that I think will be beneficial for the area that I've, beat the table and talked about forever, which is private practice ownership, right? And giving people information to be the best that they can in that spot. So yeah, more to come there. And, it's an area and it's an industry and so many people I've talked to, it's like, it's people, right? I know you feel that way. I feel that way. Lots of guests have felt that way. And I feel that it's like, I don't want to just walk away. I have really like great people that I know in this industry. Like, I'm not just going to like say, yep, that was great for a season of life. It's like, I still want to be involved there. And I think that's been one thing that's definitely been clear with the change on my end.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, we all go through different facets of life, and what we continue to have in common is the people that we went through those times with. I still, my other previous life, I still have the same thing. I still talk to them as much as I can. I value those people because I am a people's person. I love talking to everybody, even the people on the bus that sometimes don't want to be talked to. Yeah. But I love talking to people. It's just part of who I am. Everyone has a story, and I love to hear about it.
Cool. Oh, I appreciate you. And so as we kind of wrap up for the workshop, we have, next steps, someone's interested, how do they reach out? I mean, is there a website? I know I'm probably asking questions. You're like, yep, I got this, or, where do they go?
They can go to www.ivmsolutions.org. I have actually a special offer just for you guys. So for your listeners, so if they go to www.ivmsolutions.org/vetsuccess, that can tell me that they've come to me through your podcast, and I'll give them 5% discount.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure that link is in the show notes. And then do you do like cohorts where it's scheduled out so far and then they go through it? What's the typical schedule that you're running, or does it just depend? Or is it individualized? So
it's individual.
It's individual.
It's individual. So I'll come straight to you, to your location, fly me to you, as I say. But it's all part of the package. It's all included. It's one straight cost, and there's no add-ons after that. But you have me for a year. There are unlimited support, so unlimited emails, phone calls. I'll be with you virtually as well. But the workshop is a very in-depth, comprehensive tools that you will use each and every day of your life, including your personal life. You'll use them because you'll go, I learned this and I can do this. And you'll take that anywhere you go.
Well, Rhys, I super appreciate your time. Always great to catch up. I know you're doing lots of different things. Great to see kind of the pivot. I think the ability for people to walk through a structured process that has worked for you, worked for others, they can use both personally and professionally, makes a ton of sense. And really appreciate the offer as well. So people hopefully will take you up on that. And look forward to hearing more.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much, buddy. Thanks for the opportunity today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Talk soon.
Thanks, mate. Bye-bye.
All right. So there are a lot of great job postings that I want to get to. And so we're going to start off with Bayside Hospital for Animals. Great work-life balance in beautiful Fort Walton Beach, Florida. No weekends, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, no on-call or emergencies. It's an appointment only here. Currently a 2.5 doctor practice, new owner in 2021, bringing some fresh life into the hospital. The new owner had been there for 6 years prior working, so definitely understands the team, the processes, and the community. Lots of investment in people and new equipment. ProSal is the pay structure. Far too many benefits for me to list. Email BaysideVet251@Yahoo or call 850-864-1857. Join a thriving, growing small animal practice in Vermont on the Quebec border. Full-time ideal, part-time is considered. The idea is to start with yes with the team, patients and clients, and outdoorsmen or outdoor woman's paradise while being able to practice high-quality medicine. Compensation is write your own structure within production capabilities. Literally, it is the owner wants to find the right person and is happy to negotiate, chat through, and find the right fit. If you want autonomy and a boss that enjoys teaching, reach out to Newport Veterinary Hospital. You can email newportveterinaryhospital@gmail.com. North Central Indiana, looking for an oasis in the chaos. Who isn't, right? Come join the amazing team at Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. They strive to foster a fun, fast-paced work environment while providing quality patient care. They utilize the support staff efficiently so that the doctor is available to practice medicine and do what you're trained to do in less time on paperwork, which is great. Lots of investment in new equipment and technology to support you, full-time or part-time available. Small animal and exotics are both seen there, so no ER, no on-call, no weekends, competitive salary with sign-on bonus offered, and far too many benefits to list. Go to Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. So type that in and you'll find the job posting there. Last but not least, join Watertown Animal Hospital. Personable small animal veterinarian wanted for well-established current 5-doctor mixed animal practice in northern New York, which is an outdoors person's paradise. Again, 2 of those. So if you like the outdoors, you can look at Vermont or New York. They have plenty of support staff with 6 CSRs, 6 licensed technicians, 4 animal caretakers, 2 technical assistants, a hospital assistant, a practice manager, and a bookkeeper. Focuses on mentorship and investment on the people and the technology. That's been a strategic initiative by the leadership team. No on-call, 24-hour ER less than an hour away. Salary based on experience, but no less than $95,000. Can be straight salary, pro-sal considered. Want to discuss that with the right person. Tons of benefits. Again, too much to list. Please reach out to WatertownPetCare.com for that option as well. So again, if you find a role or a job or talk to anyone and it helps you in any way, I would love to hear that feedback. So please reach out. Let me know what you're able to do. And I will continue to post these. So if you are an owner, reach out to me, let me know. And we'll go from there. And until I hit a capacity of I can't keep recording these, I want to let people know who are high quality owners around the country looking for great help. So with that, we'll talk soon. Thanks for listening to today's show. The comments made on today's show should not be taken as investment, tax, or legal advice. All comments are for educational purposes only. You should talk to your professional team before implementing anything. If you want or need financial advice, my day job and not podcasting is helping veterinarians grow their net worth. Our team is taking new clients, and we are ready to talk to you at any stage of life. Come as you are. I always say, bring the mess, right? Like if things are unorganized, that's okay. There's no prerequisites to become a client. Isaiah Douglas is a partner at Vincier Wealth Management. Isaiah is a registered investment advisor, registered with the SEC. The biggest compliment you can give me in the podcast is to share it with a friend. Reviews help the show get found, and Apple Podcasts is the platform that is predominantly used for people listening to the show. If you have 3 minutes, love the show, head over to Apple Podcasts, give us an honest rating and review. It helps more people find the show. Also, the new YouTube channel is up, and I'd love to have you subscribe. Vainly, I want 100 subscribers at least. Lots more, obviously, right? But I get a vanity URL if we get to 100. That would be great. It makes it easier to find the YouTube channel as well. For all of today's links, information, head over to the veterinariansuccesspodcast.com. There you can subscribe to your favorite podcasting platform. It'll be a link to that YouTube channel I just talked about. You won't miss any other episodes, whether you listen on Spotify, whether you have some other ancillary podcast platform. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. It certainly does help. I appreciate it. Finally, if you want more information, insights, want your voice to be heard, want to share ideas for content, say, hey, Isaiah, I want you to have this guest. I want you to talk about this topic. Go over to the Facebook group. So you can search for the Veterinarian Success Podcast on Facebook or head over to veterinariansuccesspodcast.com, scroll to the bottom about your host, click on the Facebook icon, and that'll get you in the group. But thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me to be able to see the podcast grow and continue to impact people. So with that, until next time, we'll chat soon.